Okay, everybody, here is my report on the comprehensive Salesforce.com training design we put together for Module 5.1 of our course. Let's go ahead and just take a look at the goals of the program. The first goal is to make sure that each user is proficient in their portion of how to use the Salesforce.com CRM. That's what the program is about. The second is to show how I'm going to team users to properly hand off a client sale through the use of implementation, billing, and services from a scenario that we create. The third is going to be focused on ensuring that users are trained properly using assessment tools and KPIs. And the fourth is showing how we're going to use a community of practice to get them to all work together during the program and post-training. So here's a list of the contents. We're just going to do an overview of the learner types. Then we'll do a deep dive into each of the learner types and the training solution that we proposed. We'll identify those learners and then talk about assessment for each of the learners. And then I'll show you the community of practice that we're going to be putting together that they'll be working in. All right, so what I'd like to do now is to go into a deep dive of all the different areas based on the learners that we're going to be training. And I've broken them down into sales support, fulfillment services, order billing, customer service, and management. So this is actually a continuation of what we did in the previous exercise, where we did an overview of the program that I wanted to do. Now we're basically doing a deep dive. So what you'll see that I have here is a Salesforce.com module training map for the various portions of the organization that I would be training. We have them sectioned off here, where we start with, up at the top actually, some Salesforce basics right here. And you'll see that I do this with every one of my user groups. I have them broken down into, or not the user groups, but each one of the topics that I'll be training, Salesforce basics in this case, I have the topics broken down for that portion of the training program. And for each portion of the training program that you see here, like lead to cash and profiles and tab functions, there would be very specific users assigned to that portion of the training program that we'd be talking about how to assess them, as well as the modality to train them in. So we'll have a number of different learning objects and tools to use. Modality meaning whether it be self-paced or web-based or in-person, along with scenarios, will all be discussed as we get into the details of the program after we're done putting together the overview and some of the finer details of how the program is going to be structured. So you'll see that we have lead to opportunity as another section of the program. We have basics, lead to opportunity, quote to contract, order to cash, service management, and then dashboards and reporting. You'll see that this sort of like circular way of looking at things covers the entire Salesforce.com platform. And when we talk about each of the pieces of the platform and the users that need to be assigned to learn the platform, all of this links back into the community of practice that in Salesforce is called Chatter. I'll give you a quick demonstration of that in just a second. So that is a deep dive of the learners. Now, as far as the things that we have available to us to train with that we would be developing, the first thing that we'd have to do is develop a storyline so that all the users are interactively engaged in an actual sale based on a fictional company and the things it wants to do inside of the things it wants to do with whatever you're selling, whether it be a service or an application, or if you're a government institution, the services you're providing, etc. So there would be a storyline and scenario that encompasses start to finish all the different user types in the organization that would be involved. So that is how we do the handoff. Each person has a different section of the story, and when we get to a different portion of the system, there would be a handoff. As far as modality, we would be using video tutorials to do some of the base knowledge, and this is how scaffolding would work. There would have to be some sort of base knowledge used, and then some more additional knowledge on top of that as we started to get into the application, or sorry, not the application, but the practice or practicum of using the system. And along with video tutorials, we'd be using an LMS that's embedded. Once they got with the base training, the second level of the scaffold will be some sort of instructor-led base training using user guides and post-training job aids. And then we'd have a post-training assessment program that, once again, would be like a third level of the scaffold. So we might have multiple scaffolds as well. There might be all these things included in a beginning level, and then we'd have a secondary level for more advanced kinds of sales, more advanced kind of products that they'd be selling. And then once training is done, we'd have an ongoing program that would engage people through an automated newsletter or email communication, as well as this thing that we have here called the Chatter Forum. As far as assessment goes, we would have the assessments broken down into those badges that we had discussed a little bit earlier. sales management, support management, fulfillment management, and billing management, all with several different components of the assessment going forward. And the last thing I want to talk about real quick is the chatter community. The chatter community is the community of practice. It works. This is Salesforce.com for everyone. It works very similar to many different types of social media networks you might have used. You'll see that there's a feed, there's the ability to post files, links, as well as polls, and the ability to sort into topics. As you do things inside of the system, you can assign groups, you can manage the groups, you could restrict groups, and you could, what's great about this system is do mentions and literally reference different portions of the sales system. So you'll see that this is a great built-in community of practice tool that I would leverage, and all these things combined would be part of my training program. I'm a little bit over here, about 6 minutes. I hope that does not take up too much of your time. Thank you, everybody.